The rule of thirds. In composition, the rule of thirds is a rule of thumb, or guideline, which applies to the process of composing visual images such as designs, films, paintings, and photographs. The guideline proposes that an image should be imagined as divided into 9 equal parts by 2 equal spaced horizontal lines and 2 equally spaced vertical lines, and that important compositional elements should be placed along these lines or their intersections. Proponents of the technique claim that aligning a subject with these points creates more tension, energy, and interest in the composition than simply centering the subject. This photograph demonstrates the application of the rule of thirds. The horizon sits at the horizontal line divided the lower third of the photo from the upper 2/3. The tree sits at the intersection of 2 lines, sometimes called a power point or a crash point. However, points of interest in the photo do not have to actually touch one of these lines to take advantage of the rule of thirds. For example, the brightest part of the sky near the horizon where the sun recently set does not fall directly on one of the lines, but does fall near the intersection of 2 of the lines, close enough to take advantage of the rule. Does it work in illustration? Let's look at Edmond Dulac's painting The Little Mermaid. The prince asked who she was. Dulac was a great user of empty space, and to his advantage, partly because he tended to abide by the rule of thirds. Here Dulac has placed the column and the horizon line perfectly along the line of thirds. But what if he didn't? With the column and the horizon line in the center of the image, the result is less successful. The column dominates the image, stealing focus away from the figures. The viewer's eyes are now glued to this strong shape that bisects the canvas instead of wandering around the image like it originally did. The rule of thirds works because it demands that the artist make one element more dominant than the other. This dominance creates an imbalance, and an imbalance of any sort will always attract the viewer's eye. Bisecting an image perfectly in half creates the least amount of interest because everything is equally balanced. The fact that the composition is divided into precise thirds is really of minimal significance. You should divide your composition into 4th, 5ths, or even 10ths. So long as there's some sort of imbalance, the composition will exhibit tension. As you will soon see, this concept of imbalance applies to many aspects of composition, including value and color.